Myanmar, the wound of civil war that shocks the world through the lens of a camera. It's hard to believe that in the 21st century, there's still a country like Myanmar embroiled in a civil war. Since the 2021 military coup, the Myanmar army has continuously oppressed the people, forcing both men and women into the military to serve in the war. As a result, the country has spiraled into endless casualties and chaos, pushing thousands to flee their homeland in search of safety in neighboring countries. The most heartbreaking scenes captured are often caused by the military itself, bombing residential areas, injuring countless civilians, and committing barbaric acts such as the rape of women. In addition, Myanmar is infamous for its strange customs, such as tea consumption, men wearing traditional long skirts, and women's makeup routines that are considered some of the most bizarre in the world. Let's explore 19 shocking and mysterious things about this tragic nation. Number 19. Women face oppression for defying the military. Women in Myanmar suffer horrific crimes when detained by the military. 5 women who were arrested for opposing the military coup have come forward to accuse the authorities of mistreatment and brutal acts in prison. According to human rights groups, the Myanmar military has long used tactics like abuse and hostage-taking, but the violence escalated sharply after the coup. In just the crackdown on pro-democracy movements, at least 1,318 civilians have been killed, including 993 women. More than 10,200 people have been arrested, over 2,000 of whom are women. Many of them were forced, abused, and filmed while detained. Tragically, at least 8 women have died in prison. Images from earlier this year sent shivers down the spine of the world. A female prisoner whose face had been so tortured that she was unrecognizable in prisons. Hundreds of women are crammed into rooms meant for only 100 people, taking turns sleeping due to the lack of space. Number 18. A country devastated by the worst civil war. Myanmar is a country with over 135 ethnic groups, but its geographical divisions and power inequalities have led to ongoing internal conflicts. Border regions, already politically complex, are further influenced by outside interventions. The root cause of these conflicts lies in the discrimination and injustice faced by minority ethnic groups who fight for autonomy or independence. Many groups have formed armed forces leading to brutal battles that have lasted for decades. The central government, dominated by the Bama people, has repeatedly rejected autonomy requests and used force to suppress opposition, escalating the hostility. Even when a civilian government was established, hopes for peace vanished due to internal divisions and foreign interventions like China and Thailand. A prime example is the United Way State Army, Myanmar's most powerful armed group, which receives financial and military support from Beijing. These conflicts have not only harmed Myanmar, but have also had a significant impact on the entire region. Today, Myanmar remains in turmoil. The weak become victims of these ongoing conflicts. In opposition-controlled areas, the military regularly attacks, even in large cities like Mandalay. The people's lives are trapped in misery and fear. Myanmar now faces the risk of becoming an unstable nation for the long term. As things stand, the people can only pray for peace, though brighter days seem very far off. Number 17. The Myanmar Army's brutal crimes. The Myanmar military has long been the main source of instability and suffering across the country. Before the 2021 coup, their brutal actions against ethnic minorities, especially the horrific suppression of the Rohingya people, created an unprecedented humanitarian crisis. Millions of Rohingya were forced to flee their homes, becoming refugees and placing enormous pressure on neighboring countries. Since the coup, the situation has only worsened. The military continues to carry out attacks on civilians, forcing millions to flee in terror. Recent airstrikes in Maya have caused many civilians to flee to Thailand for safety, but the violence doesn't stop. The military has enforced conscription, pushing young people into opposing forces or forcing them to flee abroad. As a result, instability increases, and transnational crime threats become more complicated. The Myanmar military and its allies repeatedly commit 3 types of serious war crimes. They carry out indiscriminate attacks on civilians, using bombs that destroy homes and even wipe out entire villages. These actions not only devastate Myanmar, but also send shockwaves through the global community, revealing a catastrophe that the world cannot ignore. Number 16. Drone strikes against refugees. On August 10th, a drone strike targeted a group of Rohingya refugees in Myanmar, leaving a horrific scene with dozens dead. Disturbing images show victims lying scattered on the muddy ground beside their suitcases and backpacks. The doomed group was waiting to cross from Myanmar to Bangladesh, trying to escape the ongoing violence in Rakhine State. Muhammad Elias, a survivor, tragically recounted how his wife died after being severely injured in the attack. Witnesses reported that at least 20 shells exploded amidst the crowd, killing around 150 people and injuring many others. The use of drones to target civilians is nothing new in Myanmar. Both the government military and rebel groups have turned drones into powerful weapons of war. The Myanmar army has imported thousands of drones from China, modifying them to carry deadly weapons. Meanwhile, opposition groups, including the Arakan Army, also use these weapons to carry out numerous attacks. In October 2023 alone, the Arakan Army dropped over 2,500 bombs from drones, increasing casualties and pushing the most vulnerable into even more tragic circumstances. The drone warfare in Myanmar highlights the cruelty of a conflict where innocent people bear the brunt of a war they never chose to be part of. Myanmar, a nation rich in history and culture, is currently suffering from long-lasting internal instability, making travel to the country incredibly challenging. Due to complex political issues and escalating civil conflict, many regions, including stunning tourist spots in Shan State or peaceful rural villages, have been off-limits to tourists. These restrictions aren't just about security, but also about preserving the cultural integrity of rural communities. The situation is especially dire in border regions near Laos, India, China, Thailand, and Bangladesh, where conflicts between the military and armed groups are frequent. These are areas tourists should avoid, as violence could erupt at any moment. Even in cities, commercial centers, crowded markets, and restaurants are not entirely safe, especially when security forces are heavily present, signaling rising tensions. Even more concerning during election periods, widespread protests can occur, sometimes escalating into severe violence. Although these risks may deter some, Myanmar remains an attractive destination for those eager to explore its culture and history. Number 14. Women in the shadow of domestic violence. Not only do women in Myanmar face the wounds of war, but they also endure the quiet suffering from domestic conflicts. A survey funded by the US revealed that at least 20% of women in Myanmar have been affected by domestic violence, though the actual number could be much higher due to most victims choosing to remain silent. Sadly, the country lacks any specific laws to protect women from this issue, causing these reprehensible acts to often be overlooked. As a conservative society where power is primarily in the hands of men, Myanmar was under military control for half a century before transitioning to a civilian government in 2015. However, aside from Aung San Suu Kyi, women were nearly absent from leadership roles. In fact, only 10% of the elected lawmakers in that year were women, and the cabinet had no female representatives. Worse yet, outdated and toxic attitudes still prevail in popular culture. A saying widely circulated among Myanmar men is, "If you beat your wife until her bones break, she will love you forever." This deeply reflects a disregard for women and the indifference of the legal system. Myanmar's penal code does mention domestic violence, but it is vague and rarely enforced to protect victims. Number 13. Myanmar, the global center of the opium industry. Have you ever imagined a place where having twins is not just rare but actually becomes the town's brand? This is Igbo Ora, a small town located in southwestern Nigeria, famous for its incredibly high twin birth rate. Walking through the town's schools or markets, you'll frequently encounter identical twins, earning it the nickname, the twin capital of the world. The area of opium cultivation in Myanmar has surged, reaching nearly 60.9 hectares, 3 times the level of 2006. Though impressive, this is just the tip of the iceberg, showing that Myanmar is emerging as a powerful hub in the global drug trade. Many farmers now produce up to 2 crops of opium a year, boosting yields to unprecedented levels. The profits from opium have caused farmers to switch heavily to this crop, with average incomes rising by 75% compared to before. When the price of opium reached $355 per kilogram in just 1 year, the area cultivated increased by 18%, from 4,010 to 4,700 hectares, marking the highest productivity since 2001. The production process is quick and straightforward. It takes just 4 months from planting to harvest, with a typical farmer's annual opium harvest enough to fit inside a pillowcase. Opium from the Golden Triangle has long been renowned for its superior quality and high value, especially compared to other global sources. China is currently the largest market for drugs from this region, playing a key role in Myanmar's resurgence on the drug trade map. In addition to opium, Myanmar has also seen a boom in methamphetamine, a synthetic drug that is flooding the market. Number 12. The illegal abortions of young women in Myanmar. Abortion is strictly illegal in Myanmar except when the mother's life is at risk. Doctors who perform abortions can face up to 10 years in prison. Although contraceptives are accessible, a lack of knowledge and the stigma surrounding it have led many young women to have unintended pregnancies. This stems from heavy cultural pressures, where having a child out of wedlock is severely stigmatized. As a result, about 250,000 women in Myanmar each year seek illegal abortions or self-administer unregulated medications. Unsafe medical conditions and a lack of supervision make this a serious issue, contributing to an alarmingly high maternal mortality rate. Statistics show that for every 100 pregnancies in Myanmar, 282 women die, the second highest rate in Southeast Asia, only behind Laos, and twice the regional average. Of these, 10% of deaths are due to unsafe abortions, but experts believe the actual number is much higher. Notably, abortion is linked to nearly a third of all pregnancy-related deaths, exposing the dangers faced by hundreds of thousands of women in Myanmar every year. Number 11. Women with the longest necks in the world. Have you ever seen images of women with unusually long necks? This is not the result of photo editing or imagination, but rather a reality for women of the tribe, a special ethnic group in Myanmar. From a young age, girls in this tribe are required to wear brass rings around their necks. These rings are added each year, gradually elongating the neck by placing pressure on the collarbones and ribs. On average, a Cayenne woman may wear more than 20 rings, totaling up to 10 kilograms. This process starts when the girls are just 5 years old and continues throughout their lives. Clearly, wearing such heavy rings for long periods must affect health. Many women suffer from neck skin damage or spinal issues. However, interestingly, most Cayenne women do not wish to remove these rings. For them, the rings are not just jewelry but symbols of cultural identity, tradition, and even honor in society. In the Cayenne community, removing the rings is not simply a personal choice. It is considered a punishment for women thought to have betrayed their husbands. This is a clear demonstration of the significance of the ring in affirming status and respect within the family and community. What are your thoughts on this tradition? We'd love to hear your opinion. Number 10. The terrifying secrets of driving. Driving in Myanmar is truly a major challenge, especially for those unfamiliar with the local traffic conditions. Vehicles in Myanmar are primarily old cars, many of which have been used for years and are imported from Japan. These vehicles frequently encounter technical issues and the condition of the roads is uneven, with vehicle parts easily breaking down. If you decide to drive, you will undoubtedly face many challenges, from maintaining vehicle stability to avoiding unexpected breakdowns. Old buses and trucks that have been converted to carry passengers are common in this country. A noticeable feature is that the number of passengers often exceeds the vehicle's capacity, with many people even clinging to the roof to travel. While this may add a sense of adventure and excitement, it also poses significant risks. Moreover, Myanmar's transport infrastructure is not very favorable. Though the roads are often quite wide, the road surface is in poor condition with many potholes and bumps, making travel difficult and dangerous. These roads require drivers to have good skills and experience to operate vehicles safely. Number 9. The one-of-a-kind makeup style of Myanmar women. Women in Myanmar have a very unique and distinctive way of beautifying themselves, which is using Thanaka powder. Unlike modern complex cosmetics, Thanaka is a natural powder made from the bark and wood of the Thanaka tree. To create this powder, people take a 10-centimeter long piece of the tree trunk and use a wet stone to grind it into fine powder ready for use. Thanaka is not only used for beauty, but is also an ancient skincare secret. Myanmar people often apply this powder to their cheeks, nose, chin, and forehead. In particular, Thanaka helps protect the skin from the sun's harmful effects, reduces acne, and promotes skin health. Not only women, but even men and children use Thanaka when going outside. The image of people, from the elderly to children with faces covered in smooth white powder, has become an inseparable part of Myanmar culture. Applying thanaka is not just about applying powder, it is also a form of art. Depending on individual preferences and skills, thanaka can be drawn into various shapes such as circles, squares, hearts, or other free designs. These designs not only protect the skin but also create a natural, pure beauty for the people of Myanmar. Although there is no scientific study proving that thanaka can whiten the skin, the people of Myanmar still believe in its effect. Additionally, thanaka is known for its many useful properties, such as antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, soothing, and tightening pores. These benefits have made thanaka a traditional beauty product cherished and preserved across generations in Myanmar. Number 8. Mandatory military service for men and women. In early 2024, Myanmar's military government made a controversial decision requiring all men aged 18 to 35 and women aged 18 to 27 to serve at least 2 years of compulsory military service. This move came amidst escalating political tensions, with ethnic armed groups intensifying their attacks, putting the Myanmar military in a difficult position. Following the announcement, thousands of young men and women lined up in front of the Thai embassy in Yangon, seeking visas to leave Myanmar. The embassy issued about 400 visas daily to manage the migration situation. Meanwhile, the Myanmar military is in a state of emergency, and under the new rules, military service could extend up to 5 years for those who refuse, with offenders facing imprisonment. It is estimated that about 13 million people in Myanmar are eligible for military service, but the military can only train a maximum of 50,000 each year, leading to uncontrollable growth in the army. The first draft under the new law has already begun, with thousands of new recruits being mobilized. Pro-military Telegram accounts argue that this is a necessary step given the current situation. A spokesperson for the Myanmar government stated that the military service law is a mandatory response to the serious security threats posed by insurgent groups. But since October 2023, the Myanmar military has suffered significant losses in its battle against these armed groups, especially after coordinated attacks by a three-ethnic militia alliance and fighters supporting the former civilian government. Number 7. Nationwide internet shutdown. Myanmar is one of the countries with the slowest internet speeds in the world. Although the internet was introduced in the country in 2000, service remains heavily limited, with high costs and slow speeds. As a result, Myanmar has some of the highest phone charges in the region. However, in early 2021, the military government took a shocking step by imposing a nationwide internet shutdown. The decision came in response to widespread protests calling for freedom and the release of Aung San Suu Kyi, the leader of the Democracy Party. After the military took power, the government cut off all internet access across the country, halting mobile data and Wi-Fi services. Prior to this, Myanmar had temporarily blocked popular social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Facebook, the most widely used social platform, had accounted for half of Myanmar's population of 54 million. Myanmar's Ministry of Information and Communications justified the block by stating that it was necessary to stop the spread of fake news and misinformation, which, in their view, was destabilizing society and politics. Number 6. Severe inflation due to the ongoing war and political tensions. Myanmar is currently facing severe inflation. In the capital, Yangon, the prices of essential goods show no signs of decreasing. Gas prices continue to reach record highs at $1.39 per liter, while rice, garlic, and many other food items have seen price hikes of over 50% in just the past year. Severe inflation is accompanied by the rapid devaluation of the kyat, Myanmar's currency. The kyat exchange rate has dropped to 4,000 kyat to $1, a 70% decline since the military took power in February 2021. Despite the government's efforts to control the decline, the situation has not improved. The ongoing civil war and political factors have contributed to the kyat's devaluation. For example, the implementation of mandatory military service in February 2024 has caused many young people to attempt to flee the country, increasing the demand for stronger currencies like the dollar and baht. The kyat's devaluation has also caused business costs to soar, especially in the oil industry. Companies have been forced to pass on these costs to consumers, creating a significant financial burden. Additionally, the prices of medical supplies, many of which must be imported, have doubled, or even tripled in recent years, resulting in a shortage of healthcare supplies and seriously affecting public health. A 29-year-old woman in Yangon shared, "I had to sell the gold I had saved for years just to buy medicine for my arthritis." Number 5. Tea as an essential part of life. Tea is an indispensable part of daily life in Myanmar. From the early morning to meetings with friends, fragrant cups of tea are always present, representing an unmistakable cultural signature. In Myanmar, tea is not just a beverage but also used to prepare traditional dishes that reflect the customs and lifestyle of its people. One of the most famous dishes is lapet, a unique tea salad. Unlike many countries, Myanmar people don't just drink tea but also use fermented tea leaves to prepare this special dish. The process of making lapet is elaborate, from picking fresh tea leaves, steaming them, and then fermenting them for several months, before mixing with spices like garlic, chili, sesame seeds, and peanuts to create its distinctive flavor. Lapet is more than just a dish, it holds deep cultural significance. Myanmar people often serve lapet to guests as a symbol of hospitality and respect. It is also a staple during festivals, holidays, and traditional ceremonies. There is a popular saying in Myanmar: fruits mangoes are the best, among meats pork is the best, and among leaves tea leaves are the best. This saying reflects the love and respect the Myanmar people have for lapet. The taste of lapet is unique, combining the slight sourness of fermented tea leaves, the spiciness of chili, and the aromatic flavors of the spices. When paired with peanuts, roasted sesame, and other nuts, lapet becomes not just delicious, but also deeply flavorful, making it an essential part of Myanmar's culinary culture. Number 4. No physical contact with monks. In Myanmar, monks are regarded as spiritual masters and hold a special place in society. They are not only spiritual leaders but also revered as moral role models. As such, the people of Myanmar place great importance on showing respect towards monks. One of the key rules is that no one should engage in disrespectful acts like shaking hands or touching monks. Women in particular are advised to avoid any physical contact with monks. This practice is rooted in deep Buddhist values where monks dedicate their lives to achieving enlightenment and spiritual purity. Avoiding physical contact with women is seen as a way for monks to maintain complete focus on their spiritual practices and preserve their inner purity. Furthermore, in the Myanmar belief system, women are thought to potentially bring impurity to monks, making it important to restrict all physical contact to protect their sanctity during their spiritual journey. Number 3. No touching others' heads. Myanmar has some unique social norms that tourists might not be familiar with. One of these is the rule against touching someone else's head, especially children. Myanmar people believe the head is the most sacred part of the body, symbolizing the soul and intellect. Therefore, touching someone's head, even unintentionally, can lead to reprimands or negative reactions. In addition to avoiding head contact, it is important to be mindful of pointing gestures, especially when pointing at people or Buddha statues. Pointing your feet at others or sacred objects is considered serious disrespect, as feet are regarded as the lowest part of the body. When visiting temples or pagodas, remember that stepping on sacred items is also unacceptable. Following these etiquette rules will help you have a positive experience and show respect for Myanmar's rich cultural traditions. Number 2. No use of the left hand. When you visit Myanmar, you might encounter an intriguing cultural rule: the prohibition on using the left hand. This may seem strange, but it is actually an ancient tradition in Myanmar. In Myanmar culture, the left hand is considered unclean because it is traditionally used for personal hygiene. As a result, Myanmar people believe that the left hand is not pure enough for important tasks, like eating or interacting with others. This explains why Myanmar people typically use their right hand for eating and always wash their hands thoroughly before meals. Using the left hand for handshakes or touching others is seen as disrespectful and can cause misunderstandings. So, when in Myanmar, it is important to keep this cultural value in mind to show respect for local customs. Number 1. Men wearing skirts. When you think of Myanmar, one thing that might surprise you is that men here often wear skirts, sometimes even more frequently than women. This may come as a surprise, but it is actually a very characteristic part of Myanmar's culture. The traditional attire for men in Myanmar is a long skirt called a long yi. This is not a garment specific to any particular group, but an essential part of daily life for the people of Myanmar. reflecting their pride in the country's unique cultural identity. The long yi is a long piece of fabric that is wrapped around the waist and tied at the front for men, while women typically tie it at the side. The long yi is worn during festivals and is also used in daily activities, from going to work and visiting temples to participating in sports. In some rural areas, many men even avoid wearing underwear under their long yi for added comfort in the hot weather. This highlights the excellent adaptation to the country's tropical climate, where temperatures can reach up to 40 degrees Celsius during the dry season. Not only is the long yi comfortable, but it is also a symbol of Myanmar's long history and culture. This garment helps the people of Myanmar preserve and celebrate their national identity, and is an inseparable part of their daily life. We've now explored 19 interesting and unique aspects of Myanmar, a country full of mystery and deep history. Which one impressed you the most? Would you like to visit Myanmar to experience its rich culture firsthand? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching our video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel to stay updated with the latest videos from us. We'll see you in the next video.